the next thing, right, there's still some stuff that we have ordered, but I was looking at it and I text Brian from Hasport about the rear mount. You know, do I have to make a new one? Does he make one? Whatever. And I sent him a picture and I was like, do you make one? Because I only saw one for a different year. And he said, yes. And I sent him a picture of underneath where I had the clearance and stuff. And I said, will it clear this? And he said, nope. So we were talking and I was like, well, I guess I'll have to make my own little bracket. And he was like, or you could rotate the throttle body. And I was like, well, there's something I didn't think about, which I have this spacer from Junk 2 and it bolts onto the K-series manifold, and then these bolt onto the spacer, and that's where we're getting that little twist, and this is going straight into the motor mount. So I've been spending some time with my little Tinkercad, the free stuff, and so I have that. I'm going to make some little steps for the lower bolts that are going to go into the intake manifold, and then we're going to test this, and then I'll make it prettier, but I need to know if it'll actually work for one. Guess what I have? Part fresh out of the 3D printer. We're going to see if this thing works. This is going to be the first prototype, which is why it's just squares, because I didn't feel like making it pretty until I know all my bolt holes line up, because I just micrometered everything, and we'll see how accurate I was. Get these bases off. Actually, before we get the bases off, because I might have to use a knife or whatever to crack that off, I want to see if these actually line up. So this is going to go on this way, I believe. Maybe it goes like that. I could have also gotten the degrees of how much I twisted the throttle body on here wrong. So that's a possibility, because I had to change it. I had to alter it, which I didn't do this on purpose. So I took the little degree finder and I put it on there, and I was like, okay, what's this angle? 0, make that 0. And then I did this, and the other angle that I needed was 69. I didn't make it, that's just what it was. And so I had to figure out which way to spin it and which way would make it 69 degrees from where I wanted it to be. And oh, we have 2 bolts in. That's a surprise. We have 3 bolts in. Let me take off this tube. If these bolt holes line up and if the other bolt holes line up with the throttle body and I just have it off kilter or the wrong angle, then I'm okay with that, because I can easily change the angle. I might have to reprint it and see if that's right. But we'll see. Ugh. I just want to make sure all 4 fit. Holy cow. I'm gonna pretend like I know what I'm doing. So now, where's throttle body? Where's throttle? There's throttle body. So we got these 3, and I don't have this made to where it's like threaded in there right now. I'll figure that out with the final iteration of it, but these should slide into the holes. Is that how I have it oriented? If that is how I have it oriented, then I'm wrong. Yep, so that's wrong. It needs to be more, because I wanted it like over this way. This does line up to that. It is in the wrong orientation. I gotta see where I screwed up on that part. However, I'm gonna see if these bolt holes line up. And it looks like they do. They do. Okay. Which means all I have to do is get this orientated the way that I want. So this little poke is pointing up, and I want this more turned. So I was, it was 69 degrees from where it was. However, somewhere got moved with what I was turning. Back to the drawing board. Set it and forget it, just like an oven.
That kind of work.
I made the new bracket, made it a little bit prettier. It actually mounts up and the orientation is how I want it. So this is really nice. I do know why they don't really make this for normal swaps or normal stuff like that, because the throttle cable is in a weird spot now. I'm actually gonna have to make something for underneath, but that'll be for another day. I'm not gonna worry about it right now. But the cable will be going underneath and it won't be going up in here anymore because that's too harsh of an angle. The next thing I got to work on is I'm going to make a bracket for the receiver dryer, and I'm going to put it down here, and either I'm going to go from the core support down, or I might grab a bolt hole down here, but there isn't really a whole lot to pick from. So I'm probably just going to make a bracket that comes down and then goes around this. And this is the first iteration. It's a little off from what I want. This is too long, and it being too long, it's very flimsy. So I wanted to correct that. I made it shorter by 1.5 inches, and then I put a little bit of bracing on there. I'm not sure how it's going to go. We'll see if the bracing did anything. And then I also changed the angle of the dryer because it's like 3 degrees off from what I wanted, but you know, if we're doing the rest of it, why not worry about 3 degrees? So I'm going to take this off and change it out with the new one I printed, and we'll see what the differences are. And then hopefully it just works, and that's the way I want it. So we have version 1 and version 2. Hopefully version 2 is better. But the bracing, like I said, I'm not sure how it's going to work, so I just drew a squiggly line, and that's what it is. I'm going to take this one off, and you can see the length difference on them. The other one's much shorter. The back piece, the front piece. With my free CAD program, it wasn't super easy to make these 2 pieces, so I ended up just doing it out of 3 pieces. That's a lot less shake, but it's still got some, which I'll see what I can do about that. I can also just wait and see what it does with the hoses on it, because there is a potential that with the hoses affixed somewhere, it's going to limit any kind of movement there. So I'm going to save the file, leave it the way that it is. I might not finish this one out of the carbon fiber yet, just because I don't know if I'll have to change some stuff for it, but I like it. I don't know if you guys remember me saying, but I'm gonna say it again. So we were gonna do the electric heater, and I changed my mind. And it was actually because of this thing. So normally there's just a regular hose here, and a rubber hose comes out and it goes over to the heater. It's the heater outlet of the head. And I was just going to cap it off for the heater hose, or for the electric heater stuff. And I started looking, and this is actually an M19x1 thread. And I couldn't find anything that I was like had a nice plug. And instead of just welding it and doing something, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just make my own. So this is a metal elbow, a stainless steel metal elbow, stainless steel -10 line fitting, or bung, tacked onto there. This is all tacked because I didn't know if this was gonna work, and honestly, this is the first test fit. So I got it in there nice and tight, super snug. I'm gonna test fit it with the thermostat on, and then we're gonna put this on. We're gonna have the fitting for this on there, because if the fitting fits, then the hose will just follow afterwards. And hopefully this works. All right, I'm actually pretty okay with that. Because now, even if I wanted to change it, I could put like a 45-degree fitting on there or something, or I think they make 30-degree fittings for it too, and we could have it bend down a little bit from there, but it'll be fun getting it tight, don't get me wrong. This is not a easy to work on car. I'm gonna weld that one together. We're gonna put another AN fitting on the water tube, which is that black thing that the housing slid onto. That way we have just AN lines going to the heater, and then I have some fittings coming for it that actually just go onto the barb. With that sitting in there, it's got enough room for me to even do like a 45 or a 30-degree AN fitting. And then I have another -10 bung, that way I can weld it onto the water tube, which was the big black thing that ran under there behind the housing. I've got AN fittings for the heater core actually. I found some that just go onto the barb, and they go on. We're gonna get a new heater core because that's horrible. But they go onto that, they crimp onto it kind of in some sort of way. I wanna see them when they get here because I don't really know how they work. But they say that there's no leaks and all that. We're gonna do that. And then I also have a electronic heater control valve. That way we can get rid of the stock wire cable that goes in there. But we might not finish all of that this video. This is just kind of, you know, work in progress stuff. I'm glad that that's good. I got to weld that up. And then I think some stuff arrived. So I'm going to go look at that. All I got to say is, don't you love spending a whole bunch of time on something and nobody's ever going to see it? Well, I got the heater line one done on that side. I got the 45 degree on there. I tried the 60. 60 was too much. The one over here behind the water pump, I got that one welded on and everything as well. So this line is going to go over here to the heater core. I'm gonna see how I wanna run that. The one that's underneath the thermostat's gonna come over, and I have a little electric valve that I'm gonna mount somewhere here, and then it's gonna go up, and we'll have the fittings and the barbs next time. We have a lot of stuff coming actually, so I'll be running that. We should get the clutch line and everything done. I have the fittings here, I'm just waiting on the line to show up. This will be definitely a next video. This is going to be the reservoir for the water to air intercooler. So it is, I do have it on the other side. I decided I'm going to put the battery on the side that the intercooler's on. I'm just going to run some hoses, which will give us more capacity for the system as well, which the little tank that I have down here should be about a gallon, if not a little bit more, with the tube that I'm going to weld on it. So waiting for those fittings to show up. We're going to get that. We're going to get that. Like and subscribe. We got more to come. Someone's at the front door. We'll see you later.
Subscribe!